Hi guys, I would wish to take you through Form 2 databases, and I'll be using Microsoft Access version 2019. That is in my screenshots and my demonstration. Therefore, our course outline, we shall look at Introduction to Databases, Database Definition and Concepts, Database Systems, Database Models, Data Organization in a Database, creating a database in Microsoft Access, data entry and manipulation, modifying database structures, form design, creating queries, creating reports and label, then setting up a database security, startup options, then encryption using password, basically, and setting up database startup option. For that one will be the two main sub topics of setting up database security and startup. What is a database? When you talk about a database, what is a database? It is a collection of information related to a particular subject or purpose. Somebody else may say it's a collection of related data or information grouped together under one logical structure. A logical collection of related files grouped together by a series of tables as one entity. Somebody else, in a nutshell, may just say that a database is a collection of related data. Then we can look at examples of databases that somebody can come up with. You can create a database for customers' details, personal records, employees' records, address book. You can also do a collection, music collection. You can also do library records. Then let's go ahead and look at database concepts. We have definition and background. Therefore, a database is a common data pool maintained to support the various activities taking place within an organization. The manipulation of database contents is to yield information for user programs. Therefore, first the concept there is a database. Then we can look at integrated file systems. These refer to traditional methods of storing files, that is the use of paper files. And also you can think of flat files. Then you can also look at a concept on database maintenance. A database cannot be created fully at once. Its creation and maintenance is gradual and continuous process. The creation and the maintenance of databases is under the influence of a set of user programs known as database management system. Through the DBMS or database management system, users communicate their requirements to the database using data description languages. We call them DDLs in capital, and also data manipulation language. Therefore, a database is actually a collection of related data, and a database is controlled by a system called database management system. Then we can also look at data dictionary as another concept. All definitions of elements in the system are described in a detailed data dictionary. The elements of the system that are defined are data flow, processes, and data stores. Then we can also look at another terminology, data bank. A data bank can be defined as a collection of data, usually for several users and available to several organizations. A data bank is therefore a collection of databases. In short, just say that a data bank is a collection of databases. Therefore, let's go straight to types of database models. We have relational database model, we have hierarchical, we have object-oriented, and network model. Therefore, I shall look at them one by one. Let's look at the types of data models. We have relational database model. A relational database is a set of data where all items are related. The data elements in a relational database are stored or organized in tables. In database terminologies, a relation is a table, and therefore, when somebody talks of relational database model, in a nutshell, just say that this is a database model where files or data is kept in tables. Then we have Examples of such, we have Approach, we have FileMaker Pro, we have Microsoft Access, because Microsoft Access keeps its work in, that is its data in tables. Then we have Hierarchical database model. It is a data structure where the data is organized like a family tree or an organization chart. In a hierarchical database, the records are stored in multiple levels. Units further down the system are subordinate of ones above. Therefore, in other words, the database has branches made up of parent and child records. Each parent record can have multiple child records, but each child can have only one parent. And therefore, it is a principle of a parent table and a child table, where a parent table is the mother table where all the child read data from or depend on. Then you have network database model. A network database model represents many-to-many relationship between data. It allows a data element or record to be related to more than one other data element or record. For example, an employee can be associated with more than one department. Then we have object-oriented model. They provide unification of application and database development. This is different from current approaches in relational database management system, where a separate application, e.g. VBA, has to be developed to access a database. Therefore, basically, we have looked at the models. We have object-oriented model, network database model. We then have hierarchical database model. We also have relational database models. Those are some of the types of database models that you can actually be asked in an exam. Then let's look at the broad terminology here. Database management system. It is popularly known as DBMS. These are programs used to store and manage files or records containing related information. Somebody else may say it's a collection of programs required to store, retrieve data from a database. A DBMS is a tool that allows one to create, maintain, update, and store the data within a database. Then you can also look at the classification of database software, or the DBMS. You can talk of PC-based and also corporate-based softwares. Then we can also look at some of the examples of this is the PC-based database. You can talk of Microsoft Access, DBase 3, Paradox, Fox Pro. Then on the corporate base, you can talk of Ingress, you can talk of Informax, Oracle, Progress, Sybase, SQL Server. But in short, in an exam, if you are asked to name examples of DBMS, just name them together. You can say Microsoft Access, Paradox, Ingress, SQL Server, MySQL, such. Then let's look at the functions of a database management system. Now that you know that a database management system is a software that allows you to capture, that is to enter, manipulate, retrieve data from a database. Therefore, what is the function of this system? DBMS. The database management system is a set of software which have several functions in relation to database as listed below. Number one, it creates or constructs the database content through data manipulation languages. Secondly, it interfaces or links the user to the database content through data manipulation languages. It ensures the growth of the database contents through addition of new fields, records onto the database. It maintains the content of the database. This involves adding new records or files into the database, modifying the already existing records, and deleting of outdated records. Fifth, it helps the user to sort through the record and compile lists based on any criteria he or she would like to establish. The point number 6, it manages the store, that is the storage space for the data within the database, and keeps track of all the data in the database. Therefore, it manages the storage. It provides flexible processing method for the contents of the database, protects the content, that is security. It protects the content of the database against all sort of damage or misuse. For example, illegal access. It monitors the usage of database contents to determine the rarely used data and those that are frequently used so that they can be made readily available whenever needs arises. It maintains a dictionary of the data within the database and manages the data description in the dictionary. Therefore, these are some of the functions of a DBMS, and they are very, very much important to note. Then let's look at data organization in a database. How is data organized in a database? First of all, you should start by knowing the smallest character that can be fed or stored in a database. Therefore, you start with the character. Character is the smallest element. For example, a letter, a number, space, or a special character or wildcards. You also have a field. A field is a combination of characters. Therefore, we are starting from the smallest to the largest. And therefore, the largest is a record. A record is a collection of related fields that represent a single data entity. You can talk of an example of a record, a student database containing gender, origin, the county, age, name, fees payable. That is can be an entity. A student can be an entity for that case where a record has been kept. Then you have an example of a record, a group of logically related fields treated as a unit. For example, I have given you this one of a student and he or that is and his records. Let's go to creating a database in Microsoft Access. I will be using Microsoft Access 2019, but that doesn't mean that the steps I use are not applicable. They are applicable across the board. Therefore, a database is a collection of data and objects such as tables, queries, or forms related to a particular topic of purpose. Microsoft Access database files. Using Microsoft Access, you can manage all your information from a single database file. Let's look at a database file. It is a collection of logically related records. Then we usually have database objects. Microsoft Access will allow you to come up with a database by help of database objects. And the database objects include, we usually start with a table, then you have queries, then you usually create GUIs or forms, then we usually use reports. When we talk about tables are used to store data. Queries are used to find and retrieve any data you want. Then forms are used to view, add, and update data in the tables. Then we have reports. These are used to analyze or print data in a specific rate. Therefore, it's just like summaries. We usually have other database objects like macros, modules, pages, but they all depend with the point of interest. Let's see, how do you launch Microsoft Access 2019 or any other version of Microsoft Access? Therefore, you usually go to search. I'm using Windows 10. Therefore, using Windows 10, you just go to start, like I have shown you in the bottom arrow. Then you type access. Once you type access, access will pop up there, and then you hit access. That is the access button. Therefore, access will launch. Then you just go to blank database. You type the name of the database, then you click on create as demonstrated. Then from there, let's see how do you create a table. Because we have agreed you start by creating a table. And if you look at this screenshot of Microsoft 2019, you'll notice that we usually have create ribbon up there. In the create ribbon, you can start with the tables. Then we have the tables group. We have the queries group. We have forms groups, reports group, then macros and code. Therefore, if you want to create any object, you start from create, then you go to the group that you want. For instance, we are creating a table. Therefore, I just hit table design. Now, once I hit table design, this is what will pop up. I will be allowed to create a table. And if you are very keen, you realize that there is an on-demand menu up there called tables tools design, and therefore you can get insert rows, delete rows. You can also rename, delete macros. This is where you do your editing for everything in the table. Now, when you open your table, you'll get two very important items. You'll get field properties as demonstrated here. You'll also get data types. And therefore, from Office 2013 upwards, the data types are, we have short text, long text, we have number. Long text can be also called memo. We have large number. We have data type. Date and time, currency, auto number, yes, no. We have array, that is object, linking and embedding. We have hyperlink. We have introduction of two data types. We have attachment and calculated. These ones are not available in 2007. Then we have lookup wizard. Therefore, these are the table properties that you need to know. We have field properties and data types. These ones are very important. Let's see database tables. A table is a collection of data about a specific topic. For instance, you can talk of a products table where we have the product name, amount in stock, price, supplier ID, etc. Therefore, when defining a table structure, you enter the following. You usually enter the field name, the field type, and the field size. Therefore, these are very important points when creating a table. Therefore, field name. Each column in a database table is called a field. Field name is the name that identifies each column. For example, first name, last name. Then field type. This specifies the type of data to be used. Field size specifies the maximum number of characters that can be allowed. Then let's look at field data types. A data type is the characteristics of a field that determines what type of data it can store or hold. Field data types available in Microsoft Access usually have text. Now, text are labels. This will allow you to enter a combination of text and number, e.g. postal codes, number plates. Then we have memo or long text. Memo allows you to type paragraphs or a description or just something that is wronger than you would access in the that is in text. You can see this is 255 characters. This is 65,536 characters. Therefore, that one can explain why that one is larger. Then you have number. This only allows 0 to 9. Then you have currency. This is for monetary values, e.g. US dollar, pound, etc. Then we usually have a data type called yes, no. In programming, we call it Boolean. This means it is either on or off. For example, you can create a register, student register, where a student is either present or absent. Therefore, that one is either yes or no. Somebody is male or female. Therefore, for that case, you actually say yes or no. Then we have auto number. Auto number is a data type that automatically stores a unique number for each record as it is added to a table. If you want to have a serial number of something that is automatic, then you can assign auto number. Auto number will actually give 1, 2, 3, 4 that way. As you enter more details, it will be automatic. Then we have object linking and embedding or array object. An array object field allows one to bring data and files from another program into the current field. For example, you can import a picture, sound, etc. But there is a new data type called attachment that actually is better than this. Then we have hyperlink. A hyperlink field links the feeds to another table within the same database or in a different database. Then we have lookup wizard. The lookup wizard is used to create a field that allows you to choose a value from another table or from a list of values using a combo box. For example, in databases, you can just go and choose your county. Then instead of typing, you will see all the counties. If there are 47, you'll get 47 counties there, just choose. Then you have attachment. It is used to store one or more files that contain picture, sound, video, or Word documents. Therefore, this one is just like ORE, array object, only that this is better. Then you have calculated. This was introduced in Office 2010, a new data type used to hold calculated field. If you want to do calculations straight from a table, from Office 2010 to 2019, they have that data type that allows you to do the necessary. For example, you may have to have fees paid, fees payable, and balance. Then you want to calculate the balance from the table, you just type equals fees payable minus fees paid. Then you run. That one will allow you to use that one as calculated field. Then, what do you consider when choosing data types and field sizes? The following considerations determine the kind of data type to be used for a field. Number one, the kind of values you want to allow in the field. For example, you cannot store text in a field with a number data type. Number two, the amount of storage space you want to use for the value in the field. Therefore, you can consider the amount of storage. Thirdly, the types of operations you want to perform on the values. For example, Microsoft Access can sum values in number or currency fields, but not values in text or other data types. And therefore, those are the three important points. We also agreed that in a table, we have field properties. The table's design view is divided into two parts. The lowest part is used to display and assign field properties to selected fields. Field properties is a set of characteristics that provide additional control over how the data in a field is stored, entered, or displayed. Each data type has different sets of properties. The different field properties include, therefore, these are the field properties. Remember, I had shown you where they are when we created a table in design view. Therefore, the first one is field size. The field size property defines or controls the maximum number of characters that can be entered, stored in a text or number field. For example, if you want to assign phone number 10 digits, then you just go to field size and type 10. Normally, you'll get 255 typed for you. Therefore, you erase that, you delete that and type 5 or 10. That means that that field will not accept more than 10 values. Then we have format. The format property specifies how the way data is displayed in a field and printed. Number and currency fields provide predefined display formats that include, you can see general, percentage, fixed, scientific, etc. Then you have decimal places. It is used to define the number of decimal places in a value. If you want 2, 3, 4, then you assign by typing or selecting. Then you have default value. It allows you to define a value that will automatically be inserted into the field as you add new records. For example, if you want if you are creating a field called current year and you want the machine or Microsoft Access to automatically insert for you the year 2020 into new records, then you just go to default value and type 2020. Then you have validation rule. It allows you to create an expression or a formula that will test data when being entered into the field. It automatically rejects faulty or fraud entries. For example, entering very large or very small figures in the age or salary fields. Therefore, you can do this. For example, we have the description, that is the explanation and the validation rule. Like the first one, between 18 and 55. That limits an age field from 18 to 55. Less than 10,000 allows any value less than that one. Therefore, greater than this date allows entries whose date are current date or later. Therefore, you can be in a position to practice those ones. Then you have validation text. This defines an error message that will be displayed when the validation rule is violated or broken. For example, in our above between 18 and 55, if somebody enters 17, it is an error, it is out of range. If somebody enters 56, it is out of range. And therefore, if our validation rule is between 18 and 55, then our validation text can be that age is illegal, something of the sort. And therefore, the machine will test the age entered 17 and display that age is illegal. Then required. it controls the entry of important fields. When this option is set to yes, an entry must be made within that field. That is, it ensures that the field is not left blank. A yes option is equivalent of typing is not null as a field validation rule is not null. That means it cannot be left blank. Then we have input mask. This one lets you to define a preformatted pattern for the entry of data into a date or text field. For example, the first option there, 0#/0#/0#. This forces a 2-digit entry for the year, month, date, and that one. Then you have A. This allows letters or digits into a field, but an entry is required. Then you have 9. This allows letters or digits in the field, but no entry is required. Therefore, you can practice on this, all of this. Then you'll be in a position to understand what an input mask is. Then you have allow zero length applies to text and memo data fields, setting the value in allow zero length property to yes, and the required property yes, the field must contain at least one character. Therefore, you can also do that one practically. We have caption. This is an alternative name used or other than the field name in order to appear in the field name header button in table datasheet view and as a label in forms and reports. Therefore, if for example, you have written a field name class, but you want it displayed student class, then you type student class in caption. That is the alternative name to be displayed in table datasheet view and as label in forms and reports. Then we have indexed. It can be yes, duplicates, okay. Yes, no duplicates. And therefore, yes, duplicates, okay. It will actually arrange your work in a sorted manner, but it will allow duplicates. But yes, no duplicates. It will arrange your work in a sorted manner, but no duplicates will be allowed. Then let's see something very important. There is something called a primary key. When you are designing a database, you can assign a certain field that is very important to you as primary key. For example, the product name, something like student admission number, registration number of a vehicle, freight number, such, so that no duplication can be allowed. And therefore, primary key is a field that uniquely identifies each record in a database. For example of key fields, you can talk of identification number, registration number, user code, etc. And therefore, when you're talking about a primary key, the features of a primary key are it cannot accept duplicates, it cannot be left blank. Those are two key points. Then we have relationships in Microsoft Access database. What is a relationship? A relationship is an association established between common fields or columns in two tables. Defining relationships is a way of telling Microsoft Access how to bring information, data from multiple tables back together again in a query form or a report. And therefore, we usually have relating two tables. In order to relate two tables, each table should include a field or set of fields that are uniquely identifies each record stored in the table. Such a field is called a primary key. And therefore, that one brings us to this. For instance, you have products table and we have suppliers table. And therefore, you want to make a relationship between supplier ID in suppliers table and supplier ID in products table. And for that case, the supplier ID in the first table must be a primary key. Whereas now when we go to supplier ID in the next table, we usually refer it as foreign key. And therefore, foreign key is actually a primary key of table B referenced from table A. Then you have several types of relationships. You can create one-to-one relationship. You can create one-to-many relationship. You can create many-to-many relationship. You can also create many-to-one relationship. And therefore, one-to-one relationship means only one field in table A relating to only one field in table B. Whereas one-to-many is like one teacher teaching many students. Therefore, you have one field related to many fields in another. Then many-to-many means many customers buying many products in a supermarket. That's a good example of many-to-many relationship. Many customers getting to a supermarket and buying many products. Then you have that is the definition. And okay, how you usually create a relationship. You just drag and drop the field from one table to the other. Therefore, let's go to our next subtopic, that is data entry and manipulation. To add or edit data in a data sheet, you usually open the table in a data sheet view, and then you just delete and type, simply just as you do in Microsoft Excel. Then it is very important for you to note this, that you usually have this on-demand menu code design that allows you to do editing. You can insert columns, you can set primary key, you can delete rows, you can modify lookups from this. You can also index files. Therefore, note this one. You can also show and hide objects from this point, the design. This is very much crucial. Then we usually have these navigation buttons in forms, tables, and queries. They are very important to note. You usually have the first record denoted with that icon, next record, previous record, last record, and add new. Make sure you are in a position to note those icons and what they mean. Then you can look at deleting records. How do you delete records? You click the row header of the record you want to delete. On the home ribbon, click delete. You can also hit delete on your keyboard. Then you have find and replace. It's done from the home tab. You click find. Then you'll get a dialog box with the find what. You type what you are finding. Then you can click on replace, then type replace with, then hit replace for one instance. But if you want to do it for many occurrences, then you hit replace all. Then you have copying and moving records. Some books will say copying and cutting. Therefore, to copy, you select data, then you go on home tab or home ribbon, you choose copy or cut. You can also press Ctrl+C, Ctrl+X for cut on your keyboard. Then go to where you want to paste and hit paste or Ctrl+V on your keyboard. Then you have sorting and filtering data. Sorting means arranging data in either ascending or descending order. Filtering means extracting data that meets a certain criteria. All this is done from the home ribbon, and then you either click sort or click on filtering. Therefore, you can also import data. You can also export data from your Access database to another one. And therefore, basically just go to external data. If you are importing, then you hit from database, then you choose Microsoft Access. That is to import. To export, you go to the same point, external data. Then you see there is Excel. You can export to XML, PDF, email, or text file. You can also export to Access or mail merge, just like demonstrated there. Let's go to queries now that we are done with the tables. A query is a question about the data stored in your tables or a request to perform an action on the data. You use queries to view, change, and analyze data in different ways. A query can find and bring together data that meets conditions that you specify for multiple tables. It can also serve as a source of data for a form or a report. A query can also update or delete multiple records at the same time and perform predefined or custom calculations on your data. Queries are very crucial. They are very important and very powerful. Then let's look at types of queries. We usually have classify them into four. We have action queries. We have cross-tab queries. We have parameter queries. We also have select queries. Therefore, we classify them into four, but that doesn't mean that we don't have other types of queries. We usually have them. Therefore, let's look at select queries. A select query is a query that asks a question about the data stored in your tables and returns a result set in the form of datasheet without changing the data. On the other hand, we have parameter queries. A parameter query is a query that, when run, displays its own dialog box, prompting you for information, such as criteria for retrieving records or a value you want to insert in a field. After going through this theory lesson, I would urge you to go to my practical access session. You'll get that I have done a video on types of queries. You'll get the link down this video. That is the link for practical session of these queries. Then we have cross-tab queries. A cross-tab query is a query that calculates sum, average, count, or other types of total on records, then group the result by two types of information, one down the left side of the datasheet and the other across the top. Therefore, just watch the video down this, the video. I have put the link down this video. Therefore, watch that video in the practical session on queries. Then we have action queries. An action query is a query that copies or makes changes to or moves many records in just one operation. There are four types of action queries. We have delete queries, we have update queries, we have append queries, and make table queries. When you talk about delete query, it deletes a group of records from one or more tables. Then we have update queries. An update query makes global changes to a group of records in one or more tables. For example, you can raise percentage by 10%, and then you want to every other product to be affected. For that case, you create an update query. I repeat again, kindly watch my practical session down this video. There is a link to show you how I have done all this. Then to append is to add. Therefore, when you want to add data in more than one table, then you can use append query. You can also wish to make a backup table, and therefore you use a make table query. Then you can have a new table created that is with the same data. This screenshot here shows you where we get the types of queries. Therefore, you can see we have select, we have make table, we have append, we have update, cross tab, delete. Then we have the two advanced queries, pass through and union. Therefore, I said we only not have the ones that we have tackled according to our syllabus, but we also have others like union and pass through queries, though they are not commonly used. Then it's also important for us to look at the parts of query design. We usually have fields, we have table, sort, show, criteria, or. When you talk about the field is the field name from the table. Table here is the table where the field or data is gotten. Then sort. If you hit on this point sort, you will get ascending and descending order. Therefore, it is used to sort data in either ascending or descending order. Then there is this checkbox show. If you untick this one, that field up there will not be displayed in your query data sheet. It will only be hidden. Therefore, it is used to hide or show the field. Then criteria, this is where you type your condition. Like for example, greater than 100. Then for or is when you have more than one condition. It can be names that start with letter J that way. Then on the other hand, it's greater than 100 or starts with the J or ends with the P. Therefore, those ones are the uses of this part. Let's go straight to forms now. A form is an access database object on which you place controls for taking actions or for entering, displaying, and editing data in a field. Note, a form focuses on one record at a time and it can display fields from more than one table. It can also display pictures and other objects. A form can contain a button that prints, opens other objects, or otherwise automates tasks. Then for you to create a form, it is usually important to use design view. Design view, when you use design view, then you opt to use some properties or some features called controls. Controls are features that enable you to draw text boxes, draw combo boxes, work on list boxes, etc. And therefore we have bound and unbound. Bound controls are connected to a table or a query, whereas unbound these controls are not related to any table or a query. Therefore, let's look at the controls. When you go to design, when you are drawing a form, you'll get the following controls. I have labeled a few. We have the AB, that is text box, very useful. We have a label. You have a command button. You can use a toggle button. You have a combo box. Therefore, what you do when you launch Microsoft Access, just place your cursor on top of every control and it will get its name. You will get its name. Therefore, these are the controls you are talking about. These are controls that you can draw on a form or a report. Then to create a form, a table or a query, just like I had taken you through the first part of Microsoft screen, we have the create ribbon. In the create ribbon, we have tables group, we have queries group, we have forms groups, reports group, then we have macros and code. And therefore, I have named them the way they are. Therefore, for you to create a table, you hit the table design. To create a query, you can either use query design or query wizard. To create a form, you can either use wizard. You can also choose from there like model form. And I would advise you use form wizard or form design. Report the same. You can use report design. You can also use report wizard. You can also draw labels. You can see the button there. In the reports group, you have labels. If you want to print labels, you can hit that one and then follow the wizard. When you want to draw or work with macros or Visual Basic, the VBA part, then you can go to the module, that is macros and code part. Therefore, this is very important session. Then let's look at reports. Reports are used to display summaries or analyzed data when you want to print, and therefore I have given you a screenshot of the parts of a report. We have page header, detail, page footer, report footer. Those are the common straight ones that you have to see for every other report. Therefore, to see these ones, you just go to report in design view. Then once you go to report in design view, you can be in a position to see this. That is the reports and the parts of a report. Therefore, these are the parts of a report. Then they explained here. We have the report sections or parts of a report. We have report header. It contains text that appears at the top of the first page of a report, such as the name of the report. Then we have page header. It contains the text that appears at the top of each page of a report, such as the report's column headings. Group header used to place text such as group name at the beginning of each group of records. Then you have detail, contains text and the actual feeds that are displayed for each record. This would be equivalent to the main body in a word processing document. That is detail. It contains the text and actual feeds. Then you have group footer, used to place text and numeric summaries such as totals or averages at the end of each group of record. Then you have page footer, contains the text that appear at the bottom of each page of a report, such as page numbers. Then you have report footer. It contains the text that appears at the end of the last page of a report. Often also contains numeric summaries for the report, such as grade total. Therefore, these are the parts of or sections of a report. We can also ask ourselves, what is macros? A macro is a stored series of commands that carry out an action or a string of actions. This feature can be used to add functionality or automate simple tasks, such as performing an action when the user clicks a command button. Why use macros? You do not need to know how to program to use macros. Macros can perform a number of common tasks that you can also use Visual Basic Code to perform. With some research, non-programmers can quickly set up a macro and dramatically increase database productivity. Therefore, macros are very important. You can also watch my practical session on macros, on also other objects that is in Microsoft Access. I have done a lot of videos on this. Then from there, how do you encrypt a database using a database password? Therefore, you open the database in exclusive mode. How do I open a database in exclusive mode? On the File tab, click Open. In the Open dialog box, browse to the file that you want to open and then select the file. Click the arrow next to Open button and then click Open Exclusive. The following figure depicts the menu. Therefore, this is how you go about it. On the File tab, click Info and then click Encrypt with Password. The Set Database Password dialog box appears. Type your password in password box, type it again in the Verify box, and then click on OK. Therefore, that's how you encrypt a database by use of database password. You can practice that one. Then, how do you set startup options? Setting up startup options. Now that your database is complete, you want it to go as you wish. Therefore, this procedure assumes that you have a database open and that you have already created the form that you want to display. Therefore, you click the File tab and then under Help, click Options, click Current Database. Under Application Options, in the Display Form list, select the form that you want to display when the database starts, click OK, and then close and reopen the database to display the startup form. Therefore, you can practice on these ones. I have also done practical session on this. Then from there, that is the end of my presentation today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. You can also consider watching my other videos in Microsoft Access, which are so much informative. And therefore, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next session.